fiction, science fiction, horror, fantasy, crime, LGBT, thriller.
You have now entered the House of Mystery with your hosts, Eric Shapiro, David North Martino, John Copenhaver, and Al Warren. Heard on KCAA 106.5 FM Los Angeles,
102.3 FM Riverside,
and 105.0 AM Palm Springs.
Welcome back into the House of Mystery. I'm Al Warren, and Mr. Michael Hawley is in the house.
That is correct, Al. I am here.
So joining us today, we've got an author, and her new book is called Written in Stone, and it's Diane Bator, so thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. It's always fun coming on your show.
Nice speaking with you.
Yeah, you as well.
So Diane, like why are you writing? Like who hurt you? Like why would a sane person?
That's funny. It's the, what if? But, no, I've been writing since I was a kid, and I've just always been a storyteller, and I've spent the last probably 10, 12 years kind of honing my craft, and this new book has been so much fun, and I'm excited to see it out because it's all on me and no publisher involved, just me. So it's been kind of fun.
Yeah, it's once you learn how to do things, and if you get a good editor and all that, I guess that's kind of the secret, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Really. I mean, because I noticed, because I wanted to get published through publishers, and I went through that. And once I was done with that, or I'm not done with it, but once I had accomplished that, I came across an editor that's really good, and, we clicked, and then I use her on all my books now. It doesn't matter whether it's published or self-published or whatever. I do that all ahead of time before I even send it out. So it makes a big difference. Once you're comfortable and you think, okay, this is good. This is your self-published? Is this the first time you've self-published?
Technically, yes, it is. I had been with a couple different publishers over the last few years, and it kind of all came to an end in January for a lot of reasons. And I decided, you know what? I know so many people who have self-published. They were all more than happy to help me out. So this is my first self-published, and all of my other books, which this was number 16. So I've got another 15 I have to bring back out again.
Get to work.
Right?
What don't you like about publishers? Just you don't have to be specific about who they are, but is there certain things that you were frustrated with or something?
The particular one I was with, there became some issues, and there was a lot of things. I ended up writing a couple of articles for magazines and stuff that just kind of laid things out that I was like, well, if you're a traditional publisher, there's certain things they were doing that I don't think a lot of traditional publishers actually do. So, I mean, they were a smaller publisher, but they were more an independent than an actual traditional. So,
yeah, I think you have to be careful nowadays. There's so many out there now.
Absolutely.
I always say that, you're best to kind of look for books that you write, like the style of writing, other authors you might like in your category, your genre, and see who they go through. And a lot of times that's a good way to start.
Absolutely.
Because then you kind of get an idea of whoever you go to, if they're already publishing books in your genre, then they know kind of what to look for, and they should have connections and stuff. But yeah, you have to be careful.
Yeah.
Research. So what's the premise of this book here? Like what's going on with Written in Stone?
Written in Stone is kind of the story of Alison Cadell, who she's had issues. She's on medications and stuff like that, and she's always been told that she and her father were in a tragic car accident. Her father died, and she ends up finding out by her mother, actually, finally tells her that, well, your father's still alive. And around the same time, she gets an invitation to go out to Vancouver Island to become a writer in residence, because she is a budding romance novelist. And she gets caught up in a murder investigation because there's a fire and the woman in their building passes away. And in around all that, she discovers that the woman who died is actually her grandmother, which leads her to her father, which leads her to a whole other family and a whole bunch of stuff that she just wasn't prepared for.
So your Allison's your main character, AJ.
Yeah.
When you started there, when this before this book became a book, did it start with a story or did it start with the character?
It more started with the character. I always seem to either start with a scene of some sort or a character. And I think I kind of started with Alison being this romance novelist, getting kind of caught up in a murder mystery. And it just kind of develops from there. I guess she's kind of a part of me going, oh, I'd love to sit at home and write full time and do this and do that. But her getting to write full time got kind of twisted around.
Is Allison single or is she married?
Oh, she's very single right now.
Ah, okay. So is this like, are you living vicariously through this?
I think at some point, yes.
Well, that's interesting. What kind of relationship do you have with Allison, with your character?
She would be like a little sister, kind of like me, but not really. So, she starts out, if you've ever seen Romancing the Stone years and years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She starts off doing little, typing her little letters and typing her books and working working full time and all of that. And she ends up going on this trip that she isn't so sure she wants to be on, but ends up, falling in love with a whole different part of Canada and just as I said, finding a whole new family.
So you're writing this character and this mystery and everything. It's all happening in Canada, right? In British Columbia.
It is, yeah. She starts off living in Toronto, which I lived just outside of Toronto for many years, and now I'm actually in Alberta. But British Columbia is just, there's so much beauty there as well that I just wanted to share some of that in the book.
I live about an hour and a half away from Toronto. I live in Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
Why mysteries? Why murder mystery? Like, what about that do you like?
It was really kind of funny. Like, I've always been drawn to puzzles and mysteries and that sort of thing. But when I started writing, I couldn't really settle on a genre. And out of the blue, I found this little murder mystery writing contest. And basically, you took one of those old murder mystery party games where everybody was a different character and you played out this whole scene over dinner. And this publisher, very small publisher in Ontario at the time, they took all of those characters and all of the clues and you got all of the information. You had to write a 10-chapter book from the point of view of each separate character. And you had the police officer was the chapter 1 and then chapter 10. And I thought, well, that sounds kind of neat. I might be able to do that. And I ended up doing it and I ended up winning and went, oh, okay, maybe I'm trying to write in the wrong genres. That's why it's not working. So all of a sudden I started whatever I was working on at the time. I turned it into a murder mystery and that became my very first published book.
And this one's going to be a series? With
A series of 3 for sure.
Well, when you do a series like that, have you kind of mapped it out? Do you kind of know where you're going to go with her for the three books then, like where it begins and the middle and end?
Pretty much. I mean, I kind of have a rough idea. I'm not one of those people that plots out every detail. So I kind of know I kind of had an idea about book 1 and I finished that. And now, I know what comes up for book 2 because book 1 leads into it. And then book 3, I'm still kind of working out details and figuring that out, but I do have a good idea where it's going.
Are you keeping track? You keep a Bible, sort of, as they call it in writing, where you kind of keep track of characters and all the little details, what color their eyes are, what car they drive, and all that sort of stuff.
I definitely try to. I was lucky enough when I very first started. I really stumbled into having an agent, and that just doesn't happen. I stumbled into having this agent, and she was really great about helping me figure those sorts of things out when it came to writing a series. And she actually, at the time, gave us little spreadsheets that we could keep track of everything. So I've done that ever since with all of my series.
Well, it's a good idea because the worst thing in the world is in book 3, all of a sudden someone, writes a review and says, well, everything was good except for the eye color changed or,
Right.
something changed and you kind of forgot and you kind of go, what? Never mind. It's kind of something that it's just a little mistake, but the readers will catch
Well,
that.
yeah, especially if they've read all the books, they'll be like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Wait a minute. What happened here? So what do you consider this? Do you consider it, and I say that, I know it's a mystery and sleuth and all that, but do you put, violence and murder and all that stuff? Is it more of a cozy, or is it kind of hardcore? Where do you put that?
All of mine so far have been more on the cozy side. So no blood, guts, gore, or extremely little. No sex except behind closed doors kind of thing. And I tend to write kind of amateur sleuths in small towns, and I have a thing about water, so a lot of them are close to the ocean or close to a Great Lake or that sort of thing. And if you think like Murder, She Wrote, that series, and Monk, and I tend to keep just minimal characters if I can. Sometimes I can't, and just keep it so it's the lighter side of the mysteries.
Well, that's a good idea, I think, in a sense. I mean, especially if you're focusing more on a kind of a puzzle or more of a mystery side of it than the characters being, really hardcore, hard-boiled, as they say, right? Stuff like that. Is there a particular reason why you had a main character that happens to be a romance novelist? Is there something about that you want it to be solving in a mystery?
Trying to think about it. I can't remember why I started with that, but I just thought it was kind of a fun twist that she gets involved in this murder mystery and she's like, I don't know the first thing about solving a murder or a mystery or anything. And she kind of learns as she stumbles through it.
That kind of reminds me of Romancing the Stone. I think she was a romance novelist, and then she got caught in all this craziness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's good. That's good. And so when you do a story like this, is there a theme to it? Is there something you want people to get out of the book, or is this pure entertainment, just kind of having fun with it?
Mostly I write just to entertain, for people to have fun. I love to throw in a sense of humor in all of my stories because there's always weird little quirky things that happen and quirky characters and some fun lines. And I want to write books that will entertain people and just kind of take them away from all the yucky stuff in the world for a while.
You might need some more books as well.
Yeah, nowadays. So do you use maybe your husband as a beta reader, or who do you use as a beta reader, or do you use it?
Well, I don't have a husband, so that lets that one out.
Oh, there you go.
I've been very lucky over the years. I've made some amazing writer friends, and when I wrote this one in particular, I reached out to about 10 people, and I think 8 people said, definitely, I'll do it. And They all helped with editing. They all helped they were just absolutely incredible and gave me some great feedback and some great lines to use for reviews and that sort of thing. So I was, one of the best things about being a writer is making friends with other writers, because you can bounce ideas off each other and you learn so much.
So, like Sisters in Crime, things?
Absolutely. And some of them aren't even. Like, I'm good friends with a whole bunch of romance writers, which, I kind of use some of that. But yeah, Sisters in Crime, we have Crime Writers of Canada. There's several little groups that I've been a part of that have been a really huge help and a huge influence.
Yeah, I think it's a good community overall. People are pretty open and pretty helpful for the most part. I think that the water's warm. Come on in. It doesn't matter if how many people there are. You can it's pretty helpful community overall.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I've said to a lot of budding writers and stuff, like, find a little group. There's a lot of community groups that they love to get together and write. They love to share ideas. Sometimes you reach those people that they're like, oh, I'm not going to share because you're going to steal my ideas. But I have found, honestly, I know hundreds of writers, and nobody steals anybody's ideas. They'll, steal a line easily. We all steal lines. But we don't often steal ideas because we have so many of our own.
I steal Al's. But don't tell him.
Well, I think that, in an artistic community in writing, you put your own way, you say it your own way.
Yeah.
In writing. So you can have a romance with novelist as one of your main characters in writing a mystery, and Michael can do the same thing, but you're both going to have your own life experience that makes it different from each other. It might be the same style, because you have the same kind of character, but you're going to have your own feel to it. So,
100%.
Right? I mean, Mike's never going to write a good female romance novelist as the main character, right?
I resemble that remark.
Well, yeah. Well, how do you get into the headset of that, right? Like you have to. That's going to be one of the hardest things to accomplish. Like, and for you yourself, like you've got the handsome firefighter in your book. So, how do you get into the male characters, and how do you write into that headset?
I think I was fortunate in that sense because I have boys, and I learn a lot from all those boys and all their friends, and just listening to some of the things they say and how they say them, and kind of what goes on in those heads just baffles me some days.
Oh, yeah.
But I have learned a lot from that, from that aspect, and I talk to a lot of guys as well and say, hey, what would you do in this kind of situation, or.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's all you can do. You have to learn the skill, right, of what people, and surround yourself with that type of person and stuff like that. That's how it goes. What do you get out of writing a book yourself? What do you think happens to Diane at the end of a book?
It's funny when I first started writing, for me, it was kind of an escape, for a lot of things growing up and everything. But now I kind of get that escapism as well. Just for me, writing it is just kind of, I put myself in a different world. You don't have to worry about bills and all that stuff. It's just, you can create your own little world and everybody can be happy, or you can throw all kinds of stuff at them and they have to duck. But I think sometimes I'm at a lot of writers, and I know I'm not alone. Sometimes you just kind of use situations and you try to work through how to solve a situation. It doesn't have to be a murder mystery. It can just be, something in your own personal life that you can just weave in there and go, oh, okay, I can deal with that this way. So it's, you kind of use little bits of yourself, and you will never get away from using little bits of yourself, but it's just kind of an escapism thing for me.
So when a reader picks up your book, what is it you hope they take away from it? What do you hope?
I hope they are entertained, and I hope they get so absorbed in the story that they forget what time it is on the clock and that they have to go cook dinner or or have to go eat dinner, or whatever the case. Those are the kind of books I always loved, the ones that you can get totally absorbed in the story and forget what's going on around you.
Where do you get your influences from? Like, where does it happen for Diane? Like, where are you when it all comes together? You're out and sitting on a boat in the water, or you in a park, or you at a shopping mall, or in a coffee shop. Like, when does it work for you?
It all depends. I write a little bit of everywhere. Like when I first started writing, my kids were quite small, and I'd be sitting in the karate studio waiting for them in classes or baseball fields or wherever, and it just, all kinds of different things would influence me, and as to where my story would go or whatever. Or I would be in the coffee shop and somebody would make a comment and I'm like, oh, that'll fit in my book. And, so it's not any one place. It's just kind of out in life. I was able to take last summer and just do a whole lot of writing and whatever. And I found that I need people. I need to be around those influences in order to do what I do.
Are some of those people in the books?
Sometimes they're disguised a little bit, so I don't get,
Right.
One of my books, I actually had a writing group, and it was really funny because the writing group I belonged to at the time, they were all trying to figure out which character they were. So they were all a combination, so it didn't matter.
Come on, we want some names, we want some phone numbers. We're going to get them on the line here, and we're going to find out what they think about being in your book. Maybe, do you murder off people that you don't like?
Sometimes.
Yeah, see, this is the stuff we want. We want the dirt here. Come on.
Well, I have to say, one of my series, I used to actually work in a karate school, and what my Gilda Wright mystery series kind of started off that way, that somebody at the school had really ticked me off, and there was nothing I could do about it. But I decided not to kill them. So it just never came out that way. But yeah, there was other murders around it, so it was like, okay, well, we'll disguise it. But the senseis still argue about who was the lead character, so.
Yeah, but I think that's great.
I would think that in a karate school, you'd be roundhouse kicking somebody too. That would be
right. Well, I was only a white belt at that point, so I was like, well, I couldn't do a roundhouse then, but yeah.
For me, a roundhouse is when I walk around the house. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know how you guys do it. Well, so what's coming up for you now? So you've got this book done and it's out now. Are you working on another one, or do you take time off?
Book 2, I'm hoping to do for the beginning of next year. But in the meantime, now that all of my series are kind of taken off market, I'm working on doing edits and new covers for all of the book 1s for my series. So I've got 4 other series I'm working on, and all of the book 1s will start coming out this spring, probably every couple of months. There'll be a new one coming out. So eventually all of them will be back, and I've also got a romance series I've been working on and a fantasy novel I'm helping a friend with. So there's never a shortage of projects.
I had a publisher once, a small Canadian publisher out of Toronto, and the guy that owned it died. And so I got 4 books back like that from years ago, and I had to republish them all,
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
But it does. One thing it does is that you can, like I said, freshen the covers and even kind of redo some of the book if you want.
Yeah.
Or kind of update something.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice a little bit in some cases, but it's a lot of work.
Absolutely. And yeah, like you said, it's all been edited to death, but one more fresh edit and bring it up to date a little more. And some of them are probably about 10, 12 years old now, so just freshen them up a bit.
So now you have to convert the BlackBerries to iPhones.
Right, exactly. I'm like, I can't remember if there's BlackBerries in some. I think there is.
Yeah, they have to get the new iPhone, right? And then they can take pictures and do all this stuff.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah, so there's things like that I'm like, okay, I have to sit down and lately it's been a little tough to do, but it will start happening very soon here.
Yeah, it's time consuming. It's not physically hard. It's just really time consuming.
Absolutely.
To go through it and to get it all done and stuff like that. It takes a while. But the best thing I like is because you can update the cover, especially if the publisher created the cover and you're not really fussy on it.
Yeah.
It gives you that advantage, On one of mine, that was the case too. So the other ones, no, but in one. So it was kind of nice to do that. You also, because Beech Grove is mentioned and you talk about the beauty and stuff, setting is important to you. So do you write the setting as if it's a character itself?
Absolutely. Sometimes I'll just take a page, like just on my own, and just make notes of what's there, foliage, that sort of thing, where the buildings are. I'll have my Glitter Bay Mysteries. I have a little map somewhere, and I've got a bunch of different folders for my different series. So I have a little map of the town itself and where everything is. And so, yeah, the setting definitely becomes a character because, you have to know where everything's located. And sometimes there's, the Glitter Bay Mysteries in particular, there's a cliff. I think it's called Devil's Peak. And even that becomes part of the series itself because there's things that happen around the peak itself. So you just really have to draw it out there and people can pay attention to where the landmarks and everything.
So that Widow's Peak, is that where you would push people off just to see how long?
Yeah, right. Well,
so you got to do your research.
Right?
Research, yes.
Well, Devil's Peak was actually a place a lot of people would go to commit suicide and stuff because it's a rocky bottom underneath. But one of the main characters actually finds another character washed up on the beach there, so she's still alive. It's okay.
Well, just a little sore after that.
Just a little wet.
Oh. How do you pick these settings or these places that you're going to write in then?
That's a good question. I kind of always start with a body of water because that's just kind of my thing. Sometimes if I can't find, like I'll go on Google and stuff and look at maps and find areas that I think would be appropriate, and sometimes find towns, and I will fictionalize them because I don't always have time to worry about street by street and everything. But there was actually one town for, I think it was the Gilda Wright Mysteries, that I found just the perfect setting, but the town itself was too big. So I printed off the map and I kind of folded it in the middle and kind of made it half the size, and that became my map for the town. So
she killed off half the town.
Killed off half the town. Yeah.
Didn't even tell
No.
me. How rude. Well, that's interesting. I like that. I know we've talked to some authors that have, I think Danielle Burnett, she goes to all these countries herself. She'll fly there and see if it feels right. And then if it does, she writes about it.
Yeah, I would love to be able to do that.
Yeah, Google Map is cheaper.
It is.
Yeah, Google Maps cheaper, and yeah, you don't have to deal with all the stuff with flying and that. But wow,
Airports.
Yeah, but I guess if you have enough money and time, it doesn't matter really. But that's interesting. That's sometimes terrible if you go to a place and you don't like it, and then you decide not to put it in a book. It's like, what a waste.
Or put the antagonist in that town and then off them there.
Could you find? Do you like writing your killer or the person that's guilty of the crime in a mystery like this? Can you get into that? The headset easy on that?
For some of that's very scary, but yes.
So what's your secret? What do you do? Like you go out and push someone off that cliff?
Well, yeah, you have to try these things once. No,
an evil side of Diane.
When I'm writing the stories, sometimes I don't even know who done it until the end. And then I'll have to go back and plant some clues and that sort of thing and set up the red herrings. But sometimes, it's sometimes characters that you kind of like the characters and you're like, no, it can't be them. But then sometimes it's like, oh, okay, well, if I twist this and change that, then I don't feel so bad about it. So, but you have to, I don't like making characters black and white. Like a lot of them have shades of gray in there that they could have done it. They would have had a reason to do it. But would they have that motivation to actually do something like that? So.
And that's always good, right? You always have 2 or 3 people that kind of have the possibility and they do have a motive, possible motive. It's always good, right? But I think how you make a bad character, or an evil character, I should say, understandable is just explaining kind of their point of view, getting you so you understand why the person did it.
Yeah, exactly.
They might be wrong, but in their world, they're right.
Yeah.
Diane, because I researched Jack the Ripper, then I did some fiction novels. I was forced to do historical fiction and learn that. Are you interested in maybe having a historical fiction or a scene, or like a background of your characters going back in time?
I'm not going to rule it out. It's not something I've done yet, but it's been interesting working on this fantasy novel with my friend because that is kind of the thing we've been doing a little more research on. And basically it's his book, it's his story. But now I have to step in and go, okay, well, I don't know what that is, so I have to start doing the research to know what all of these weapons or whatever are and what they look like. And I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of teaching me to do all the research and about the history of the time. So, yeah, I won't rule it out, but hasn't happened yet.
Are you going to put serial killers in? Because Al and I love them.
Well, you never know.
Do you have a favorite character that you've written over all your books?
I kind of do. In my Glitter Bay Mystery series, the second book introduces this character named Hamlet. And Hamlet actually comes out after the actual murder happens and comes out and says, well, my name's not Hamlet. And she is transgender. And she comes out as Quinn. And Quinn has kind of taken on her own personality and her own big life and is kind of trying to take over the books. And she may end up having her own books and that eventually. But she was actually inspired by someone I met in Ontario when I lived there. And she knows all about, she inspired it. And she's got every copy of all the series. And she just loves that she was the muse for that series. So
I can imagine it. So it takes you a while to write these books, right? Like maybe a year. And so when you spend, let's say, 3 years with, for instance, your Alison, your new character and stuff like that, when you finish book 3, just like with the other books, what happens to your characters when you stop writing them?
So far, I've only had one series that I have finished, but what I ended up doing was leaving a bit of a loophole at the end so that it's not totally finished. You know, kind of that little opening that I can go back if I want to and jump in and go, okay, well, let's write another one. But right now there's, I think, 5 books in that series. And I was like, no, I just need a break from that world and those characters for now. And I tied everything up as neatly as I could for the series. And if they do come back, it'll be a whole fresh new series.
Do you still hear them? Like your new character, like right now you're dealing with Alison and anybody else in the new books?
Oh, yeah. It's
so you're just like completely nuts, right? You have like 50 characters.
Absolutely. There are constantly voices in my head.
Right. And so you just hang out go to town, go to the city and kind of talk to all these people that don't exist.
Right? Yes. Well, it was really funny. Years ago, we had a neighbor and this guy came over one night and he had had a couple of drinks and he's telling me that he's an ordained minister and he could exorcise the voices in my head. And I started laughing. I'm like, no, please don't, because I'm a writer. I need them.
When someone says they're going to exercise the voices, and you say, well, they're in shape enough. They don't need it. Bad joke.
Dad joke. That's Diane. There you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you like to interact with writers and readers and stuff like that then? Do you have like social media? Do you have like a website that people can come find you at?
Absolutely. It's probably easiest to go to the website. I mean, I'm on social media everywhere. Easy enough to find. My website is just dianebator.ca. So DianeBator.ca. And all of my links are on there as well.
Well, that's great. Now we're going to have that up on our website along with your book. And we appreciate you coming by and talking about what's been going on in Diane's life and your new book, Written in Stone. So, Diane Bator, thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thank you guys. This was a lot of fun.
Oh, it was. Nice speaking with you.
You as well, Michael.
This has been a production of the House of Mystery Radio Show. To find out more about our show, guests, or hosts, go to our website at houseofmysteryradio.com.